Okie dokie. Let's find some homes for free agents who are still out there. I gotta say, like Tyron Smith is probably a Hall of Famer. I mean, I don't know if he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Russell Wilson, Ryan Wilson would get all up in arms if I suggested that. But like Tyron Smith was in like a top 3 left tackle for like 7 years at least. I mean, he was in Dallas. He was drafted in 2011. He's in Dallas for like 12 or 13 years. Played at a really, really high level. When he was out, they would crater in terms of the quarterback play, and he's still out there. A little surprising, Sully.
Yeah, I mean, if we're trying to play matchmaker, I will gladly take him up here, show him all the Dunkin' Donuts in the land. I will gladly take Tyron Smith with the New England Patriots because, again, they're a team that needs a left tackle. Trent Brown's gone. It doesn't seem like there's going to be a very clear path to getting one in the draft. I mean, you could find one on day 2, but we all think that number 3 is earmarked for a quarterback. And then you're at the top of day 2, sure, but that's a lot of blind faith to put in for a rookie quarterback to have a rookie left tackle. If you could put in Tyron Smith for a season or 2 or however long you can sign him for a rookie quarterback to develop, that's going to help you immensely. I mean, we saw what happened. What happens with these rookie quarterbacks if they're completely under siege the entire time. It ruins their development. And so if the Patriots or a team like that has a young quarterback could land him, I think that would make all the sense in the world.
Yep, I'll just echo what Sully said. I had the Patriots down as my number 1 and Cowboys as number 2. So I think it makes sense. I know the Cowboys are kind of on the fence. I think Smith would go back to Dallas. I don't know. It's probably going to come down to how much money he was willing to not take if you were to go back to the Cowboys. But yeah, the Patriots make all the sense in the world.
I wonder what the Cowboys. It's just weird. I mean, maybe it's like an injury or an age thing. I wonder if the Cowboys, because the Cowboys want to move Tyler Smith to left tackle, I believe. And so I wonder if it's either like a money thing. The Cowboys want to play like, dude. If you're Tyron Smith, you are. I mean, he was so young when he was drafted. So I'm gonna double check how old he was. Might have been 21, but he was drafted, maybe like 19 when he was drafted. The dude's 33 years old. That's crazy. He was drafted in 2011. Like, I mean, that is wild. I just wonder if you've been living in Dallas that long, and like this is probably your last contract. You're like, you're gonna retire like maybe 3 years at most. Do you really want to like move? I mean, I know these guys move all the time, but like, you're like, dude, Jerry or Steven, just like give me some money and let me come back. Do you want to move to right tackle? I sort of wonder if that's why he's just sitting out there. Like he's letting people know he's planning on going back to Dallas, but he doesn't want to, you know what I mean? Like, I wonder if there's something like that out there.
Do you also think that he could be a guy that just kind of waits it out? We're talking about him, during the summertime and see, hey, okay, if there's an injury in camp for the Cincinnati Bengals or the Kansas City Chiefs or the Baltimore Ravens, is he that type of guy that says, hey, maybe it's not to go to Dallas and just stay at home or not go to New England and get paid, but maybe it's a place to go win.
I don't think that's crazy because once you get up there in age, once you're 32, 33, 34, you don't want to be at every day of these OTAs and this off-season stuff. So if you wait until July to sign, then it's like, okay, I'll show up for training camp. I got 4 months off, so I'm a lot better. And the one thing I will say is that Stephen Jones was asked about Tyron Smith today on Thursday, and this is from a good friend of the podcast, Patrick No C. Walker. And this is what Stephen Jones said. Nobody thinks higher of Tyron than we do. We haven't shut the door on a continued career here with the Cowboys. So still open, still possible.
Sounds like those two sides are just going to flirt for like the next couple of weeks and then finally figure something out. Like just get a room already, guys. All right, Cameron Curl, safety Cameron Curl. Once upon a time on Pete Prisco's top 100 list. Last offseason, Pete's like, I'm smarter than everybody else. He's on my top 100 list. Well, Pete, now he's a free agent. He's unsigned. Sully, you got these landing spots for Cameron Curl.
I've been scratching my head. I've been trying to figure out what's a great spot for him. It's not the easiest landing spot for him. So, Breach, if you have one, let's hear it.
You know what? I will go with the Seahawks. I think Mike McDonald could make him work. Look, they cleaned house. Jamal Adams is gone, and it is tough coming up with a good fit. I think they have probably Rayshon Jenkins and maybe Julian Love penciling at safety up there. So I'm not sure, the Seahawks aren't going to break the bank to sign Cameron Curl, and I'm sure he is looking for a pretty good deal. So from a financial aspect, I'm not sure if it would work, but I could see McDonald being open to signing him.
I'll throw out. I'm sorry, Sully, I didn't mean to hand up. That's on me for putting on the spot. But I think it's a tough one finding landing spots for like safeties in day 5 of free agency. I'll say the Carolina Panthers just lost Von Bell. I mean, like you need help on the defensive side of the ball. You traded Brian Burns. You lose a starting safety. You traded a starting cornerback in Dante Jackson, who you're probably going to cut anyway. But like the Panthers defense, which was sort of a strong suit last year, is really hemorrhaged some players. So I think if you're Carolina, it's the late free agency. Go out and find some veteran signings, make some smart moves. Go get Cameron Curl, and while you're at it, go get the third guy on this list, Chase Young, who you might have to pay a lot of money for. But Chase Young, I think, visited Carolina, and Jadeveon Clowney also visiting Carolina. So we can sort of use both of those guys in this spot. I'll say Panthers are a good look for any of these defensive players, especially the edge guys, after losing Brian Burns in that trade to the Giants.
Yeah, that's the one that I was going to say was the Carolina Panthers. Like you said, you lose Brian Burns. He's a Gamecock. It just feels like there's just a lot of lineage there that would make a lot of sense for Chase Young. And it's a name. This is a stupid reason to do it, but it's a name. It would create a little bit of buzz for this Carolina Panthers team. Like you're like, okay, Chase Young, like we're bringing somebody in. We didn't just have nobody to place Brian Burns. Not that that's the best situation or best reason to sign somebody, but he's talented. He's still young. That would make sense.
Yeah, I agree. I would put, for my landing spots, I had Clowney in Carolina and Chase Young going to New Orleans. So both guys ending up in the NFC South. I think Chase Young was also visiting the Saints. Brinson, you said he visited the Panthers. So it seems like a pretty safe bet that he is going to end up in that division. And I doubt they signed both of them. So I think that if they sign one of them, the other guy will end up somewhere else. So I'll say Clowney Panthers, Young Saints.
Former Miami Dolphins cornerback Xavier Howard. Once upon a time, I think Xavier Howard was an All-Pro, I believe. At the very least, made Pro Bowls and was like considered one of the top corners in the league. Anybody got a landing spot that they like for Xavier Howard?
I would say the Detroit Lions. Again, we were talking about them earlier to fix their secondary. Again, you're trying to compete in the NFC. At some point, you're going to have to go through these elite quarterbacks and stop the pass. I know we're talking about how well they've been able to stop the run, but you do need to be able to stop the pass at some point. Xavier Howard, as you noted, former All-Pro or Pro Bowl player, that's somebody that I think you could bring in and try to help stabilize that unit.
I'll ship them off to LA and the Chargers. I think the Chargers, they don't really have the money. I don't know how they're going to do this. I guess they did just restructure Joey Bosa, so maybe they freed some money up, but I feel like they could use some corner help. And so Xavier Howard can make some sense there, trying to slow down Patrick Mahomes.
You could probably put the Steph Gilmore on the list as well. Wouldn't be shocking. You could put the same teams in for Steph Gilmore. Like, we're talking about former high-level cornerbacks. And Steph Gilmore played really well last year for Dallas.
Yeah, I think Gilmore could be a good guy for the Kansas City Chiefs, especially if they move on from L'Jarius Sneed, who's franchise tagged, wants to go win a Super Bowl, former Defensive Player of the Year, former Super Bowl champion. That just feels like a type of Chiefs signing to bring him in and help fix that secondary, or at least solidify that secondary if they move on from Sneed.
That's spicy. I like that. We got a couple offensive linemen on here, Kevin Zeitler and Trent Brown. Breach, you have a child that's trying to talk to you?
Yeah. No, keep going.
Honestly, I'm curious. I'm surprised the Ravens haven't made a bigger effort to bring Kevin Zeitler back into Baltimore. We talked about this yesterday, but they must believe in those, the guys they drafted and being able to promote them up front. Look, the Panthers already signed interior offensive linemen. So what do you think, Sully? Any spots for these offensive linemen, or we just moved on to Marquise Brown?
Well, I'm thinking about Trent Brown, and I was trying to see, I wanted to just triple check if there was a replacement in-house already for David Bakhtiari in Green Bay. If not, I think that makes a lot of sense. Trent Brown's kind of had an up and down, I've seen him up here in New England. When he's on a good team and he's paid well, he plays really well. If he's on a bad team and is griping about his contract, well, then you might not get the best effort. I think the Packers, if they're able to pay him what he wants, they're a good enough team where you would get max effort from him. And when you get max effort from Trent Brown, he's a damn good tackle.
That's a good point. Yeah. When Trent Brown is like engaged and ready to roll, like he's like an all-pro tackle in New England, and then he goes to like the Oakland like pays him a ton of money. He's like,
And the thing is too, he is a moose. I mean, every NFL player is massive, but this dude is massive. And I'm not a big guy at all. I've stood next to him at training camp. It is comical. It's crazy. We're even both humans. It's bananas.
I've got a picture of me next to Jonathan Ogden, and it's like the most. I mean, like he's like 6'8" and 400 pounds, and I'm like he's like I don't like up to his kneecap. It's crazy. It's like
bananas.
Yeah, it's hard to see. Yeah. All right. Finally, Marquise Brown, wide receiver. Anybody we think needs Arizona Cardinals? Anybody? Obviously, the Atlanta Falcons have already sort of put their hat in the ring for wide receivers. I guess you could see maybe Jacksonville or Carolina. I know we're talking about the Panthers again, but like they traded for Deontay Johnson, but he is easily cuttable. It wouldn't be surprising if either of those teams, Jacksonville now, like maybe they keep Zay Jones as a result of that deal, but they've got Christian Kirk as their one. I mean, I really think they were banking on Calvin Ridley coming back to Jacksonville and got caught off guard. So I think you could see them sort of reactionarily jump into the wide receiver market.
Yeah, I think any team that lost Calvin Ridley would be a team that would maybe pivot to more. That would make a little bit of sense. Brown, excuse me. Patriots, Jaguars. You can talk about the Panthers. You know what? I also wouldn't hate the Chicago Bears too. You need to continue to add weapons if you're going to bring in Caleb Williams. He needs somebody to throw the football to. I think that would make a little bit of sense as well.
What about your Patriots, Saul? Are they done?
Yeah.
No.
I think that they absolutely should be going after any receiver. They need somebody because you have Kendrick Bourne coming off a torn ACL. You got rid of Devontae Parker. You're trying to get rid of Juju Smith-Schuster. They have literally nobody. And at some point, I mean, we were just kind of talking about it. You're going to draft a quarterback at 3. You have a high second-round pick. I think it's the number 2 overall pick in the second round. That has to be either a tackle or a wide receiver. And at a certain point, you're going to be thin at one of those spots, and that's not good for your young quarterback. So either find the tackle or the wide receiver in free agency and then use the other pick in the second round to fill that other need. Whether it's wide receiver or tackle, I really don't care. It's just they need to find those players to fit in those slots.
I think Hollywood would be interesting with the Chiefs or the Jets.
Ooh.
Put them with Patrick Mahomes or our best friend, future Vice President Aaron Rodgers.
Oh man, that has really created some controversy out there. I think the Jets and the Chiefs are good calls too, because it feels like, I mean, Garrett Wilson's obviously a superstar wide receiver already, and the Chiefs have Kelsey and they have Rashee Rice, but that speed component with a guy, like you see the Falcons kind of doing it. They had Drake London as like the possession guy, and then you can't, like I always love when teams take like a speedy, like Marquise Brown can do a lot of different stuff, but he's really good in the screen game. He's really good if you get him downfield. And like, I mean, Andy Reid's a screen game master, and like you give another vertical component to Patrick Mahomes, I think that makes a lot of sense.